choices will decide the fate of this world. Make the right one. Summon the Elector Counts.
Yes, I know, I used that intro for part 1, but it took me, honestly, way too long to make, and I thought it was pretty epic. I hope you enjoyed it. Here we are with part 2 of Karl Franz, doing the walkthrough, showing the first 6 turns, which are absolutely perfect in my mind, and then the options you can take after that. You don't need to have seen part 1, but I would absolutely watch it after this for 15 strategies, and some of them you probably haven't thought of. I recommend normal campaign, normal battle difficulty. I'll be playing on legendary very hard with no mods to ensure this applies for everyone. Now to show you how to pull all of this off, going to Immortal Empires, starting off with Karl Franz. Of course, I would only recommend normal, unless you're more experienced and want to try hard, and you can turn off the endgame scenarios if you want. I have them on, and just make sure that you have your AI stats just kept here in the middle, which is absolutely neutral. Don't move it this way because it will inflate you. This way will harm you, but we're playing on legendary and this is the default, just to show on any difficulty. And here we are. First, select Karl Franz and attack your first enemy. You can press the R button to speed up their movement speed on the campaign map. And we'll fight this manually because I want to teach you how to fight in the battlefield, and it's so much easier to learn when you only have a few units. And on the battlefield, let's sort our army out. We're just going to select everyone, Control A, and just throw them over here. So we're going to build up our army in the place that seems most sensible. And we have the artillery advantage, meaning we should set up far away from them to make the most of our advantage. And there's a nice piece of terrain here to protect one of our flanks, so that looks good to me. So we're going to stretch out our artillery as wide as they go, and we're going to hotkey that, let's call it number 8 to keep it out of the way. Up the front, Lord is always number 1. Well, why is that? If we are at any time, we can double press 1, it'll send us to our Lord. Next most important is our handgunners. You want them in slightly wider than short formation, and we're going to place them just here with a bit of space in the middle. Now I'm holding Alt when I move the unit around, and this will allow me to move it, and holding Control will rotate it. Then select a swordsman, put them in the middle. On our flanks, we're going to place 2 more units of infantry. Slightly behind, in reserve, we'll place another unit, which is our Grade Swordsmen. They are an offensive infantry unit. Our Halberdiers and Spears are a defensive infantry unit. Over here in reserve, our Reiksguard, they're our heavy cavalry unit. As you can see, the artillery is just in range, and that's excellent. We're waiting for these range units to go in range. You can notice the ammunition bar. Range units will do the majority of the hassle because they harm your morale, as well as pick your units apart from afar. So very important, always target range units when in doubt. Now holding spacebar, we can see the effective range and arc of our ranged units. Now these are gunpowder units. They need direct line of sight to be able to fire. Hence why we've got a nice wide open area here. But if we had arrow units, i.e. archers, we could have a unit in front of them like that, and they'd be able to shoot over the top. So you'll notice that this is a harder difficulty level. They will be kind of skirting around trying to spread out and not get bombed. They don't have any cavalry of their own, so we can safely move our cavalry out to the side. Okay, there we go. We've got some volleys coming off from our handgunners, and we're going to focus fire one of these units down at a time. Notice how I'm not keep bringing this unit forward yet. He's staying back to not disrupt. Their Lord is now in range. Gunpowder units on Lords are really effective. Let's send Karl Franz out because he's a small unit and won't obstruct their field of vision very much. Oh, look at that damage that they're doing. Okay, let's run one of our infantry units into there. Our heavy cavalry are heading towards their archers. That is bad news for him. And notice we can draw the lines of our infantry. You'll see why I'm doing that. I shouldn't be moving in front of my my range unit, but that's okay. Let's instead get him to fire at this unit. And now we're going to charge into the side there, and they will gain a bonus. Karl Franz has an ability. Abilities are on the left-hand side, spells are on the right. Karl's a warrior, so he doesn't have abilities, but he can hit pretty damn hard. Okay, now we've got to be careful with our mortars. Our mortars are still firing at this unit, so we don't want them to fire there. You can manually fire by holding Alt with your mortars, but they will never stop. So the reason why I want to hold Alt and do it is because we want to avoid some friendly fire by firing just on the outside there and away from our own units. So normally with guard mode on, they won't chase units down. Control, press A to select the entire army and toggle guard mode off. Now they'll follow them to hell. As we can see, we're doing some nice splash damage from our mortars. Not doing the most damage, but at least it is safe. Just turn your artillery the other way or press stop and then turn off fire at will. But just facing the wrong way is sometimes a good way to panic, get them to stop firing. Now while they're fleeing, each guy we kill will give us 1 casualty, and this will replenish the units that we lost during the battle. And this is where cavalry are really useful because they can easily catch units whilst they're fleeing. Now after battle, if it's a battle on the field and not a settlement, you will gain 3 options to get more experience. I never bother with this. You're most interested on replenishing your losses. As you can see there, those are the captives we ran down, or we can get some extra gold. Now, just in case you're new, let's assume you're new, you're going to need some replenishment. We're going to go with that. The army is destroyed and we have a clear path to take our very first settlement. Let's do it on the battlefield. We can easily best this army. They've got no artillery, no cavalry, and limited range units. And on the battlefield, we've got a hill, and that's going to make things a bit more complicated. If you look down on the ground, you can see the field of vision, and we don't want to have any hills or anything in the way, but we do have the high ground, Anakin. It's going to be okay. Let's stretch out our artillery, and we'll set up here, because if you can use the natural terrain to your advantage to block one of your flanks, that is obviously the best thing to do. So we want this here so no one can get around or behind our ranged units here, but just be careful if they do have cavalry. We're going to hotkey our handgunners the same number. Karl Franz at the front, but we don't want him taking too much damage because he did get hurt a little bit last battle. We're going to keep these halberds in reserve in case anyone comes around and attacks our artillery, and of course our Reichsguard. If you see the hidden icon here, that means we're hiding in the forest, but once they get close enough, they will see us. Making sure we're targeting those ranged units. With cavalry, I like to move them by stretching the line that gives the destination. Because I don't want them to bomb my own units, I'm going to focus on some melee units here. I'm going to turn off guard mode because I want them to keep on fighting until they can no more. Cool, and you see we've got this gap here we can shoot through. That's perfect. Now if you see a unit that's coming towards one of your range units, try to just keep on getting a single unit to come after them. Now these great swords, notice their armor, 95, very high. This is an elite infantry unit. Their spearmen have hunted down our cavalry because that's a good matchup. They gain anti-large, meaning they hit us easier and do more damage. But let's use some good old-fashioned classic hammer and anvil. We're about to win this engagement here. So let's finish them off. Remember, it's shock cavalry. The idea is to ruin their morale. Now, our artillery, we don't want to bomb our own guys, so we're just going to fire just outside here by holding Alt. And charge into the rear. There we go. They're broken. Now, when they charge in, they gain the charge bonus. So 62. When they land in, their melee attack and their weapon strength will be increased by 62 for 13 seconds, and it will gradually degrade from there. Control A, turn off guard mode, just double tap it to turn it off all your units. And now, pair them up one at a time and make sure that someone is chasing someone. And after the victory of any settlement, you will have 4 options. Occupying is nearly always the best choice. Loot and occupy takes out some of the wealth, but it'll give you a really nasty public order penalty, which takes a while to go away. Sacking is a good way to make money against a rich settlement. However, if you want to sack and then occupy, each action you do will strip away 1 level of that settlement. But this is our capital province, and we want to occupy and keep it. Karl Franz will of course level up, and early on you always want Route Marcher because their extra campaign movement is incredibly important, but we've got everything quite close together. So first we're going to get Emperor's Finest, and this will increase the melee defense of our basic infantry, meaning they'll stay and hold the line a little bit longer. Hire 2 spearmen with shields. Defensive infantry at the fundament for any formation, and a shield at the front line is very good for countering arrows. Now, a new settlement, let us build the resource building. Resources are always a priority. If there's a resource option, you'll see it here. Always go for it sooner than later. This will increase your income a lot, and if there's a priority, it is always upgrading your main settlement. This is absolutely fundamental. Upgrade the capital first in 99% of cases. Once you've captured all of the settlements in a province, you gain a provincial bonus or a provincial edict. We have 2 provinces. You can rotate between the 2 of them here, or use the 2 arrow keys, full stop or comma, on your keyboard. And at this one, we can unlock an edict. +1 recruitment capacity, which will gain next turn when it comes into effect. And we can hire a second lord here. Let's go with this. Select them and then click on the settlement to make sure they start inside the settlement if it happens to get attacked, and hire 1 spearman. We now have 2 armies, and next turn this one will be able to reach. Now the Empire must learn to become great. Our melee infantry don't start that great, they're just regular Joes with jobs that do some military service on the weekend. Let us train them to be as great as they can be. Click on state issued weapons and it will unlock all of the technologies on the way. So 9 turns, a while till it gets there, but absolutely worth it. Now clicking on diplomacy, go to quick deal and it'll show you everything that you can sign. Trade deals are the most important thing to get. Let's sign that. And you can usually squeeze a few more dollars out of the various trade partners. And now, non-aggression pacts. Sign one with Blackstone, but leave it for Paravon. Alright, we're going to leave one of these left and not signed. I'm showing you right now why that is. Now, it's very difficult to influence the RNG, and normally I never do it. This is literally the only campaign in the entire game where I do it, and I'm going to show you why. Every time you do a diplomatic action, if there's an RNG component to the game, which will occur over the end turn, that will be 1 tick. Hold control and press S, and that will give you a quick save at this very moment, and press end turn. Now, whilst that turn's ending, the reason why we left 1 diplomatic deal on the table is because we are going to roll a wizard, and it is random. Now, there's 8 core laws of magic, and it is random which one you get. If you can get fire, life, or beast, you are in business. And turn 2, and we got a light wizard. Okay, I'm going to quick save this right now. The law of magic you use should be the one that you are most comfortable with. And let's restart again, and we're back at turn 1 at the very end, and let's look at that final deal, and we're going to sign it away. Start of the turn, and this time we rolled a Heavens Wizard. If you're not happy with that, again, you can try one more time by joining the war with Whistleland and Null. Then let's just say we're happy with that. So we're going to do that at the start of this turn. Now the first thing to do is to get our brand new lord and click on the settlement, and we're going to choose not to fight but encircle. Now the zone of control of the settlement would normally stop you moving units freely between there. Because this army's encamped around it and pinned everyone inside and it's besieged, we can now move much more freely around it, and that also allows us to reinforce it. Just remember, with the reinforcement ring, we don't want the settlements, we want this character, so we need to be right here, and as you can see, that's going to place him inside the reinforcement range. I'm going to put the mage inside the new lord's army. Now the reason why is the lord attacking will get the most experience. And on the battlefield we do have some reinforcements, which is our main army, and we're going to have to wait for them. So let's move them across. The further away from their starting position you move them, the longer they're going to take to get. And the reinforcements are in, so we're going to turn off fast forward, and it's often easiest to use the bottom panel here to direct your units. So we need a front line, let's build that up. Going to use 3 units evenly spaced out the front, and in between those units, through the gaps, let's put our gunpowder. Behind the gunpowder, artillery. Now because we are out in the open, we need to make sure that our formation has its flanks covered. We have an extra unit here, so let's move him around this side. We do not want to get flanked. Even while they're moving, if you hold Alt and move the formation, it will remember where they will be. And as soon as we pepper them a couple of times, they will come running. Disrupting their range units is always priority. They often have to stand still to fire, meaning they're a good target, and if they're running around avoiding the fire, they're avoiding firing at you. Click once and then hold shift and click again, and that'll give us a waypoint so we stay well clear of those units. He is actually well clear, so let's attack. Alright, there's a really nice blob there. I'm going to hold Alt with my mortars and aim right there. That'll be a great target. So Karl Franz has an ability to boost the melee attack of all his units. We're just going to cast that. Oh, why aren't you attacking, Karl? Get in there. Charging into the side will take away about 1/3 of their melee defense, and then in the rear is 2/3. And that is our second settlement earned. We of course will occupy. I've only seen it once where they actually moved this first army down into Oosbrick for that first battle. If that's the case, the battle is basically fought the exact same way. They will rank up and allow you to move forward. The main difference when fighting it this way is you'll need to use your generals or your Reichsguard to bait out the enemy artillery. Never ever leave yourself exposed to an artillery disadvantage. Use your Reichsguard. As you can see, we're just drawing a line, drawing a line, drawing a line, drawing a line, and fast forward until the artillery ammo is depleted. So then we have the artillery move up, start bombing, and just do the battle the same way. And with our new lord, Hire another 2 spearmen. Give him hard to hit. We're going to make this guy an absolute beatstick. Now, there's a high chance when you take Uzbek, it will have a secondary barracks. We need level 2 crossbowmen as quickly as possible, and we're going to get them sooner at this capital, so let's get rid of this minor settlement one, and we'll keep this here. As once this is fully developed, we will move the barracks to another. You do have a hard battle next turn, and that will be, as long as you didn't fight the army this turn, click on the garrison building. You can count, they have 2, 4, 6, 7 units, plus 8 is 15. So there's 15 units versus what do we have? We've got 11 plus, it's going to be 16. It's going to be relatively close. But just in case, I'm going to add this extra element here, and this will allow you to auto-resolve what is actually quite a difficult battle. So choose the lord that you think has the best skill, and hire 2 spears. Turn 3, and you may get a random undercity, and that is simply underneath one of your settlements. You can see here what's under it. In this case, it's a Skaven city, and you can see what the buildings do. None of them are stealing our income. The trickster, he will steal some of your income, so you'll eventually want to burn those down, but it's definitely not worth 750 gold when we have some very important business to get to. Let's first select Karl Franz, take him off march stance because he can't attack if he's in that. You can only attack in regular stance in most cases, and we of course will encircle, besiege the city so we can reinforce it with our other units. But you'll get the best result if you put as many units as you can in the lead army, in this case Karl's. Now you can auto-resolve this, and the reason why we pass these extra units up is to give you a favourable auto-resolve. In this case we did have a unit slightly a bit injured, so we would lose him, but I'll show you how to fight this on the map if you are so interested. We've got a lovely little piece of terrain here which will cover our first and second guns. Let's number them, let's call it number 4. And the reason why we're doing squares is so only one unit gets pinned in at a time. Holding spacebar to see the range of their units. Well, it looks like they're attacking us. If they don't attack you, you can bait out their ammunition using your Reichsguard. Okay, so getting hit by that artillery is quite disastrous if that does happen. So using our artillery to target, they do have some handgunners. Target those handgunners. Oh, so we're going around the units. So these are 2 more heroes. These guys are really going to come in handy. So you notice that I'm stretching out. Now we're charging in, so this is going to hurt us, not going to lie, this is going to hurt our Reichsguard. Come on. Now what you don't want is to get in range. You want to avoid their gunpowder units with your heavy knights. What we're doing is we're moving away from their ranged units. All gunpowder is best targeted at their lords if you can get a clear shot. I think we have a clear shot there, let's go for it. Cool. Doing some nice harassment with our cavalry. Man, this is fun. Alright, so this is how you deal with lots of gunpowder units. Take your units off guard mode and chase them. Run some infantry units up and force them to fight. It's just like tabletop. Tie them up so they can't hurt you. Now this is what we want. See, we've got lots of their units crowded around only one of ours. That's a great artillery target right there. You can auto-resolve that and probably get a better result than that. Failing that, you can camp in the corner and just use your Reichsguard to run back and forth and waste more of the enemy artillery fire, which is what did most of the damage to us. So there's a way to cheese it, there's a way to auto-resolve it, and that's the way to fight it honorably if you like a bit more pain, like I tend to. So let's occupy, and that has completed your first genuine province. And just for next turn, we're going to use the recruitment edict because we need a few more boots on the ground. Upgrade everyone with Route Marcher so everyone gets a little bit extra movement. Keep on upgrading his infantry to give these guys a little bit kick. They have 46 melee defense. In Ubersreich we knocked down the barracks last turn and we can now replace that with a weaving house. This has an excellent return on investment and you should aim to get as many of these level 1 as quickly as possible. Ilhat has a growth building. We don't need growth here, we really don't need it. Just check your diplomacy as usual. There should be no agreements. Ideally though, you're looking for trade agreements to sell those natural resources. Hire another 2 swordsmen. Whilst it's not necessary, you can switch your edict over to the growth edict, which will reduce your construction by 10%. You have a fair few buildings to build next turn. That's our first bit of research done, and it will automatically run to the next because we pre-programmed it, but state issued weapons is your next stop, and that will give you another 4 melee defense on top of what Karl Franz is giving them in his army. But that other one, that is global for everyone, including in your garrisons when you get attacked. Now look at that. Altdorf now has more build slots because it ranked up to level 2, and we want these crossbowmen, so we need to upgrade that barracks. We also want to get a stables. Now we can unlock a legendary hero. This building gives +1 local recruitment capacity. If you don't have Thrones of Decay, don't build the gunsmith. Instead, get yourself a warrior priest. But we do have it, so we're going to get this because it's better in our capital to have this tier 4, tier 5 structure, whereas in our minor settlements, that is a perfect place to put this temple. And in Nilhart, we of course want another income building weaving house. Now it's time to find our next target with our first threat gone, and well, we have Marienburg here who have seceded away from the Empire. We can attack them. They're the only electors here that we can attack, and we're going to. We don't even want all their territory, just the capital, because it is a very rich port city, and as long as we have the capital, we get the state unit, and it's very good for them. But more importantly, we don't want to attack this with the army inside. I'm going to show you a really common technique. It can be a bit cheesy, but I'm here to teach you. So we are going to declare war. They don't have any enemies where we can join the war for a bit of extra cash, so we are straight out declaring war on them. They have a full stack, and well, they'd hold off if they saw all that, but what if they can't see this main army? What if we set up an ambush? So if you move your cursor around, I'm holding down right click. If at any point you're unsure, just bring it over your HUD. But we're looking here for 80%. Do you see that 80%? And it's also within range of our garrison. So move into ambush stance. You can see above his head there, oh, 70%, let's move to 80%. Move the most injured character into the settlement. You can put this guy in ambush stance as well, put him behind Karl, so Karl's is the ambush that it hits. You only get one chance to spring an ambush, so you want the stronger ambusher to find them. And here we are, it's ambush time, let's do it. They've got some really strong cavalry, but we've got some pretty good spears. Now, if you have the chance to auto-resolve, you usually should auto-resolve because it's very favourable in ambushes. This auto-resolve, because I'm on very hard battle difficulty, was not very favourable, but if you're playing on easy, and often even on very hard, it's the better way to go. Got a nice place to put our artillery. There's no way they're going to be able to get to us here, so to pull this off, we need really good hotkeys. Could put our handgunners as, say, number 5, and then of course our caster is number 2. Okay, we're going to send all these guys into this first unit here the moment the battle starts. Charge into there. Horses into there. Oh wow, they moved quickly. They moved quickly. Cool, let's get in there. Okay, now once they're engaged, this is a good chance to use that nice armor piercing magic. Okay, let's use those abilities. Now, if you didn't get that ambush, you can always reload and try it again over the end turn. You have 80% chance it's going to happen one way or the other. And if you auto-resolve it on an easy difficulty, you will have way more troops than we ended up with. You'll even be able to take this gold for a bit of a kicker, and that is so much gold, I really can't say no to that. Now, because he lost the battle, he's going to be sitting here like a duck so we can finish him off next turn. So on the campaign map, reinforcing, just move a unit of their reinforcement ring. Once you've beaten them once, it's usually very easy auto-resolve, so let's just do that. With Karl, one more point in Emperor's Finest to finish those melee infantry, and then go into Pistol Corps. This is going to increase our crossbows and our handgunners, 2 of our premier units. Now, I'm going to show you how to scout. This is what I call the 50% rule. Move the character out to less than 50%. See the percentage here? And it'll give us a little bit more visibility over our enemies. Cool. So we can see nothing around. He's got no armies around. So see the balance of power bar? The more red, the more he has. The more green we have, he has no armies. We destroyed his only army. So our only consideration is the garrison. Pretty decent garrison. Can we beat it? Well, absolutely we can. And that is what we're doing. Okay, so first, let's besiege. And let's use these heroes. So these characters are also giving us a bit more kick. Now on the battlefield, let's bring all of our army to this side. We of course are going to use the fact that there's less towers that can hit us. If we're castled against an edge, And we'll bring our reinforcements as close as we can. There we are. Alright, now we're just going to conga line ourselves all the way to the front because we don't have any cannons and we don't have enough ammunition to blow the towers down. If we had like a couple of cannons, we absolutely could take down those towers, and that's what we would do. But we don't. And these spears without shields are crap. They need shields to be good. So they're going up the front. They are the pawns in every case of the word. And down the back, we'll have our handgunners. So if you see the range on those, you can see the range on the tower, you may as well move your mortar to the very edge of that. So of course we are copying a bit of missile fire, to be expected. So holding just hover over the tower to see its range. Now the bad thing about being castled up like this, it means that we're all heaped up and we're very, very easy fodder. So let's go try to make some wider lines that are harder to hit. So the swordsmen and the halberdiers, let's run them under here. So underneath the gate, they can't get hit by any arrows. So, and just keep hammering them until they shatter. So we have now taken our first elector account seat there, and we're going to place Chadley General, who has worked so hard, and he is being promoted to an elect account for his service. This means we also get the state troop available for him. Now we're not going to hire it just yet. Now there might be a stable here. If there is, knock it down and instead build this building. It's going to give you guys another resource that you can trade. Obviously very valuable. Upgrade Grunberg because we can pair that with a weaving house to get even more income. Now it's time to get a bit of cash flow back, so let's disband this third lord. We don't need him anymore, but we'll keep the second lord. He does afford us a little bit of flexibility. And turn. It's usually around turn 6 where we'll see Boris get wiped out. He's doing not too bad here. So moving that lord. Okay, and occupy. Potion of healing. Outstanding, outstanding ability. Let's hire 3 crossbows to place into Karl's army. Now we're just a bit shy on gold, so we're going to seek some funds by speaking to the King of Bretonnia. So Malsalon are a minor vampiric faction. Not too hard for them to beat, but we can get a little bit of gold, and that will help us afford. Now if you have that growth edict on and it's reducing your construction, you should have more than enough, but we're just short a little bit of growth. Karl Franz to the rescue, and there we have another growth point, and we can upgrade the capital, and the next round of buildings just really, really great. And over the end turn, around this turn, Khaazrak will always attack Altdorf, and you can always beat him in auto resolve, and it will always leave some of his army still alive, but it gives your treasury a nice little kick up when you so sorely need it. And turn 7, it's time to fight our big bads. So he will always have a Castle Artois right there, and a full army here at Blackstone Pass. Well, first we're going to declare war, and we're going to destroy this settlement. Declare war. And let's do it. There's no one to join the war with. Cool. Now we're going to loot and occupy. Now here's the problem. He will counterattack and easily take this back because the garrison is completely battered because we just took it. If we leave this lord in here, he is as good as toast. He is an elect account now. He's been promoted. We're not losing him now. So we're going to disband him. We can recruit him again in 5 turns. This also gives us a bit of extra cash flow, and we could certainly use a bit of extra cash flow, obviously. So let's run back. So we're going to do a trick now. We're going to use the call to arms ability. This will reduce the recruitment cost by 25% and give us 1 extra recruitment capacity. Inside Reikland, this is kind of like a linchpin ability that can be stacked with many other abilities. So this makes crossbowmen we're about to hire that much cheaper. Now you basically want to combine any of your units to get yourself down to a count of 17. We're going to hire 3 more units the next turn, so just keep that in mind. Let's upgrade Ubersreich, Karl Franz. Let's get hold of the line. It's a really great ability to have on any general, truth be told. Now of course we can hire some characters. Anyone that has good defensive traits or buffs the army, like this guy, that's a captain, and let us hire. Either you got a warrior priest, or in this case we chose to get the engineer, and next turn they'll be able to join up with Karl Franz. Excluding the heroes, we want 15 slots used up. I would like to have an extra spearman and get rid of one of these swords, but at the end of the day we've got a big fight coming up. I need the numbers, so we'll replace these next turn. You'll see what we're going to do. Now just keep in mind, if there's a faction neighbouring Gisaro like this, you could gift them the settlement for some money. In this case, it would be a fair bit of money, right? But there's a point to this. But this settlement, even though it's pretty weak, still has this zone of control. They can't get to this next one without going through there. I want them to take that because the army that takes it will be trapped inside and we can besiege and then destroy it. End turn. Kislev trade, please. Another dilemma. Don't waste your gold on it. We'll choose Avalon because he is a closer elector count to us. Turn 8, and now to pull off the trick we were aiming to do before. Don't forget, last turn we did use called arms, so that's reducing our recruitment costs by 25%. We're about to hire some very expensive units, our grenade launchers, and then let's use requisition. We have 1500. This gives us +1 of all of our elector state troops. We need a bit more cash, so let's join this war against Clan Verms. They're miles away. Oh, we can get a trade agreement too. And let's now, there we go. Now we have a relatively elite army, particularly once we've put our troops inside. Now, if you want to be careful, what you do is you hide in these forests and you hop in ambush stance, and when they attack, they'll run to your ambush. Normally, they will have taken this city, and you can just charge straight into them. But in this case, we can take him on. He's separated. We can hammer this army if we fight it manually. Let's do that. And on the battlefield, you really can see here how the grenade Outriders state troops are your bread and butter. They are just incredible, and they solve your early conundrum of not having too much long-range armor piercing, as well as being able to deal with large chaff. And we have a lot of chaff taking on the undead. These two units will make all the difference. I know I'm going on about it, but I need to make really clear that rushing Marienburg and getting them is really what does help. Use a stable formation, just like you've seen so far. Allow gaps for your gun units to come in, and then use your heavy cavalry as well as your grenade outriders to flank around and then launch volleys into engaged troops. But just remember, keep kiting back at the start of every battle. Start with the grenade outriders on the front line and let them fire, then draw straight lines to keep on running them back and running them back, keeping them in that nice wide formation to just ensure maximum saturation. Don't forget your good habits with your artillery, holding Alt to manually fire over your units to make sure you get as little friendly fire as possible. Once you've done that, you can do a quest battle. I'm choosing to do it here. It's a little bit ballsy because we're going to have to fight next turn, but I'm more than confident. Once again, run those Outriders up the front to unleash some devastating volleys, softening them up before they get close. Use your nice wide formations. You'll need to pivot to the right because I have reinforcements, and then you'll need to 180 from there to pivot to the left, and then that will get you your first quest item. Now, you can do the quest battle now or later whenever you have a quiet turn. Quest battles are an excellent opportunity to earn some cash because you'll need it for these expensive buildings. I did this because there was only one army there. If there's 3 armies there, just hold up in ambush stance outside the fort and you'll be able to nail the first big army, leaving the other 2 for dead. In here we didn't have to chase them because they came to us and it was an easy auto resolve, so here we are. Now every so often you'll get this dilemma giving you +1 fealty with all electors or 500 prestige. And once upon a time it would have been easy just get the fealty, but these prestige abilities are so good. Get the prestige for now. You'll get most of the fealty you need here by giving back Boris Todbringer his land. This also marks the point you'll probably get some excellent diplomatic offers. You have more goods to trade to other nations, meaning more trade deals and more diplomatic progress. Now take out whatever armies you can without getting out of range of Blackstone because you need to get there and capture this building, absolutely destroying Hemmler's chances of ever coming back. Build the iron mine, another tradable resource. Now, even though Hemmler is nearly dead, this is an opportunity to rope someone else into this war. Let's go to Leoncoeur and say, just join this war, he's basically destroyed, and what this does is gives us just a little bit more diplomatic bond. It's a small multiplier, but it'll grow over multiple turns. Whilst we are targeting Boris first, give Elspeth a couple of bumps of diplomacy, certainly if she's going down like she is here. Turn 10, get the grain silos research. Although this can compete with the supply wagons, both of them will increase either your replenishment or your growth and movement, both very important. I'd get one after the other, then focus again on your infantry and then missile units. It'll get you really far in the early game. Now we've taken Hydra Hemmler's capital, so he's basically crippled. So King Leoncoeur has joined the war, we've made a friend, and in the process he'll finish him off for us, so let's peace out. We're done with this war, we've ensured the forces of goodwill triumph in this area and we can move on. But let's also peace out with Marienburg. We took the only structure we wanted and that is their capital. We want these territories to be occupied by him so he can fight off the Norskins. civilians, we don't want to do it, we have enough problems. Back at Reikland, make sure your settlements are at tier 2, your capital Altdorf will now be tier 3, giving you some build slots. Make sure you upgrade your stable to tier 3 to get the Theodor Bruckner questline, as well as the resource and the Wizard Conclave to get more wizards. Turn 11, and now it's time to take the fight to the orcs. They've wiped out Boris Todbringer. He might be alive with the one settlement, he might not be. If he's been wiped out, like you see here, declare war and then take the settlement, but we're going to return it to Boris, and then that will build up some fealty so we can confederate him. So that's an easy auto resolve in this case. If he's still alive, consider setting up an ambush. If you can see the enemy armies are in range, they won't be able to resist that leftover settlement, and you'll get an easy ambush. The point here is to take down his armies. As you can see by double clicking on anyone, you can bring up the diplomacy screen showing the balance of power is slightly in our favour, meaning they have only one weak army, so we're not too worried here. Make sure you invest those points into Karl Franz's unique tree, but with your engineer, make sure you put points in this skill to increase your missile strength. Now Karl Franz's army can heal in neutral territory, so we don't have anything to fight, so let's do a quest battle to get a bit of extra gold to get Gal Miraz, the legendary Warhammer. So this is just a simple case of basically camp up in the corner, use your grenade outriders to tease the enemy, fire shots at them, blast them to pieces, and then kite backwards. Soon enough, your dwarven reinforcements will come in and do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Here you can see the benefits of gunpowder against single entities, absolutely shredding them to pieces. Any infantry that get close will get shredded by your great swords, and that's if they make it past your gunpowder. Making sure you invest most of your energy into using your outriders as well as your caster. Just be aware around this time your turns will be obviously quite different to mine, and this is kind of the crux and potentially the most difficult part of the campaign, so maybe give it a hard save here. But the most important thing is, if you need to heal your army, occupy the territory first and then trade it back, but if you can afford to, just gift it straight back and build up that fealty so you can confederate Boris. Beastmen will often leave Herdstones, which will heavily corrupt the area. Using the Inquisition ability will purge the area of corruption and will allow you to heal up when not in the garrison. Remember, your ambush percentage chances are much better near the forests. Turn 12, and we now have the Theodor Bruckner quest, and all we need to do is beat up some units with some cavalry. Oh, Sterling's gone, and Leonco finally did the job on Castle Artois. If we can get a defensive alliance with Xiaoming, we'll be able to get eyes on Balthazar Gelt and can confederate him to bring him home. No point doing it too early. He can probably set up a decent holding down there and build it up. Let's keep making our way up. Double check their units. They've got an army probably roughly the same size of ours, but I'm really confident with just how powerful our army is. Oh, it's going to be a big fight. And they will be exhausted because they're in forced march. Unlucky for them. Right, we're going to occupy it this turn, and we'll give it back to him. Now the reason why I've done that is, one, so we heal up. We will return it. Alright, for now, let's start moving on Karl Franz's melee abilities. Always increase your movement, and this is the massive skill here. Triangulation will increase the missile damage of all of our missile units. Very powerful. Get this settlement up to tier 5 so we can get the income building in there. Another advantage of having Marienburg is we gain some extra deliveries from these caravans. It's just nice to have an extra 1,000 gold every now and then for really doing nothing at all. Let's wipe this first army. Yep. And again, we're going to set up down the back of the battlefield, giving ourselves a nice buffer so we can just pick them apart really. We're going with the back line of 3 crossbows, and in between those having our handgunner units. At the front, Karl Franz number 1, Caster will be number 2, and our engineer number 3. He's going to start giving some really great buffs to our other units, and just chilling out number 4, our good old captain. Up in the corners, let's use our great swords to catch the enemy as they come in, and let's just place our spears in the flanks because they're beastmen, they are numerous, and they will try to envelop us. And we have vanguard deployment, so let's see what we can land with a very sneaky first volley. And there we go, Khaazrak is down. Dueled by Karl and finished off by his trusty gunpowder. Once again, only if you need to heal badly, occupy the settlement so you can sell it later, otherwise gift it back to Marienburg and get those sweet fealty points. Remember, you'll get another because this is their capital. I'm feeling lucky, so we gave it back. We're healing because Franz has that unique ability. Make sure you have every possible trade deal signed with Marienburg. This will boost your relations, giving up to typically a +3 in relations, which will help increase your fealty, thus making that confederation that much easier. Having too many heroes can send you broke, but now is the time. Let's get a captain and a witch hunter. We're just going to hold off making that second army until we have our confederation, just because we don't want to go broke. And in a perfect world, I would go straight to the fort and destroy the goblins' base of power, but in this case I decided to take the fight to Festus. Just make sure those goblins have 0 balance of power left. Nurgle will have a very hard time against early Empire. The gunpowder and bombardment really punish their slow movement. Doing some scouting, they had very few armies nearby, so I was able to take some of their critical settlements quite early, particularly this one, which will give you the surefires. Once your missile units start getting to level 7, make sure you get the level 7 perk, and the same for your infantry. Now, Hergig is not part of Midland, so you do not give this back to the elector. Remember, you only want to give land back to electors that you plan to confederate. There's no point raising this guy, just take the settlement and appoint your new elected count. You earn the count, which means you can elect the state troop. Now, use the 2 heroes that you hired last turn and send them out to the east. Let's find these vampires and let's work out where their armies are in case they decide to attack us first. As you can see, we've completed Midland in the way that we've given it back to Boris Todbringer. We want him to be at war with these goblins, so he's basically acting as a screen against them for us. Now, you can choose to hold off confederating and they'll use their gold to build up construction, which is your most expensive cost. Here I've opted to confederate him because there's a 5-turn cooldown in between confederations, and if we're going to go for a bit of a flex campaign, we need to take advantage of that. Otherwise there's no rush at all, and it might be better off allowing them to use their funds to build up the city first. You'll find that when you confederate, you'll often need to disband some trashy armies, take the good units, and then combine them into very few, maybe 1 or 2 good armies. We're going to take Brass Keep, and this will eliminate all 3 of the major threats that Karl Franz starts up against. Cool Lord, terrible army, let's fix those units up for him and return him to the capital, which is our main hub of recruitment, allowing the outer suburbs to be used for economy. Turn 17, another dilemma. You'll see these pop up. It's quite easy. You'll usually have to help one count or another. Simply spend the prestige and you can drop a random throwaway army. It won't cost you a thing. In fact, the auto resolve will give you some gold. Now, the only last really tricky thing is this little fortress full of goblins, and they often have 1 remaining settlement on the coastline. Wiping them out can be a bit of a pain in the tail. They seem to like building armies way bigger than Boris ever intends to, so they can make some ground back. So we need to at least get them preoccupied. So either get Marienburg, or especially if you can, these elves right here to join the war. So if someone has no enemies at all, that is a prime target to join a war. But speaking of wood elves, always keep your eyes on Orion and Durthu. They can underway under the mountains, and it's several turns for you to march around to deal with them. A gift is well worth the price. Over time, they'll make excellent allies, and they'll never betray you. Now, you don't want to go overboard on these expensive units, but you will need a second strong army, which we're going to build up with Boris Todbringer. Just remember, your handgunners are more than enough. You don't need those high tier gunpowder units yet. Handgunners are incredibly good for a tier 2 unit. Basic spears with shields will hold the line, and having a cavalry unit will give you some excellent flexibility. You only need 3 to 6 handgun units in the army, and then a back row of maybe 3 to 6 crossbowmen. You can mix and match those the way you like. Now we're in the position where I know we can beat Festus because we have lots of gunpowder, so we're going to do the Silver Seal quest battle. It's not too difficult once you've got a good army like this one. As always, those grenade launcher Outriders are absolute stars. Have them run ahead and volley those undead into pieces. Use nice gaps in your formations to blow the enemy apart. This should get some good levels on your characters. Make sure the ones that are elected counts are using their groovy weapon they get for the privilege. Now use the exact same fire relations as well as the Send Aid ability to build some fealty with Elspeth von Draken. If you have the DLC, this will lead to a confederation. Now we can hire witch hunters and a bunch of wizards and more priests, but keep in mind they do have a heavy upkeep. Don't just hire them without having an army or a scouting purpose for them. They'll send you broke. As far as research goes, it's anything you want here. The priorities are, personally, I think assembly line is very strong. Construction costs are your biggest cost. 10% is huge. The infantry armor upgrade also benefits your missile units, and then afterwards go into your missile unit offense. So that your missile units are already good, especially if you have engineers. I'd focus focus on your economy, and of course getting Emperor of the Empire, which essentially doubles the power of all of your fealty abilities. Now going into a few more advanced techniques here, you will often find you might just really need a powerful army quickly, and this is where Regiments of Renown are incredibly powerful. A lot of people like to hire this as an elite unit in their armies, but this is the best use of them on high difficulties. Is quite simply raise a doom stack instantly. If you need to cancel some recruitment like we have here to afford it, just do it, build it, destroy what you need, and remember the loot and booty you gain from those victories will kind of help fund this, and then disband those units in 10 turns time. You can do it again. Now scouting saves lives. It is so important that you have at least 2 units scouting out this vampiric territory. It's very dangerous, but there's a lot of places to set up ambushes of your own. You'll find the occasional ogre faction kicking around, and just wipe them out in a single go when you have the chance to heal. We've wiped out Festus, and now we have Karl coming in from the north, and we have Boris Todbringer finishing his army off to attack from the west. And we finally have 10 fealty, which means we can confederate Elspeth with the unify ability, and there we have 2 new seats for the elected counts because she usually will have Solent by this point. The good thing is that they give you an excellent spearman, and her capital will provide a steam tank as part of your elected state troops, so a great win by getting her in the Empire. It's time to take the fight to Vlad von Carstein. Keep in mind you'll need siege equipment to be able to besiege big walled capitals in a single turn, so here we are passing our artillery to Boris Todbringer so he can attack the first turn, and there we have it, keeping our scouts up ahead, ensuring we can't get counterattacked. Your resource building should be leveling up by now, which will provide more tradable resources, so don't forget to sign more trade deals. And here we have Grom the Paunch. He's declared war on us, and he's definitely superpowered in this region, but he is going to attack us through our gates, and this is the whole point. These gates can hold multiple armies off, and this is a setup I typically do use. It follows a similar checkerboard principle, but we're making sure we have nice clear line of sight in range of the gates, so as soon as they come in, they will be shot at. We're going to use our weakest units on the walls, and this will allow the towers to shoot and soften up some of their units, so try to target the ones which have high armor and or shields to make the best use of these bolts, because they can't stop those, they will be able to stop your arrows. Upgrade the towers straight to tier 4 one at a time, doing the front ones first, then the rear towers after that, and this will amaze you what this can hold off. Just keep on expanding along, target Castle Drakenhof as well as Castle Tempelhof when you can, making sure that you will have time to heal up. The biggest threats are the heroes in the army. Try to debuff their armor. Witch Hunters have an ability, or you can use magic. Remember, fire magic is very effective against the undead. Just try to soften up one unit to basically 90% of its health and then change target. Don't try to kill every last unit because they're fearless, but they will start to crumble to pieces. I've pretty much showcased everything that I do to make this campaign work. Make sure you do upgrade the prestige abilities because they are very useful. You can even send reinforcements to your own provinces with that, as well as all of the recruitment buffs get a little bit better. Don't be afraid to use ambush stands, and attacking the multiple armies so they can reinforce each other is absolutely a great idea. Overall, your armies will be stronger than Vlad's and the vampires. The problem is their heroes, so as long as you can outpower and isolate those heroes with gunpowder, you should be okay. If there's rebellions you can't handle, or you're worried about being invaded, just quick raise an army, use those prestige abilities. Cheap stacks, hide super quick. You can deal with absolutely anything with Karl Franz. Maybe I pushed a bit harder here than I normally would, just to really push the tactics and see how they stand. This could absolutely be done quicker, but please do not rush and do not try to imitate this. Go at the speed you think is fine. I know some people that took 100 turns to get this, and if that's what it takes for you to have a good, safe, enjoyable campaign, then you are winning. It's not a race. So long as you have control over your campaigns and you're enjoying yourself, that is the key. This is just here to inspire you and give you some solid ideas, but the first 4 turns I would do exactly as per this script. Afterwards, take inspiration, maybe go another way, but good luck to you. Elvin's going to bed. Peace out, guys.